Good morning, and I want to talk to you about our next project. For those of you that are not with us, it is going to be the colored pencil still life, and I just want to go through this quick PowerPoint with you. It is on Schoology, but I'd like to discuss it with you. This is what it's going to end up looking like. You're going to do this in colored pencil. The first thing that you are going to want to do is take a good photograph of the still life. Now, if you're not going to be here, I'm going to have to take the photograph for you. So we're going to have to keep in touch. We are going to take a good composition with a good angle. We're going to have extension. As you can see, it extends on most every side of the paper. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to print out a photograph. If you cannot print this out, you are going to have to do this freehand. But those of you that can print it out, I am going to show you how to do the grid method. It is the X plus diamond hashtag. Most of you learned this in your last art class, which would have been in junior high. Here's the gridding method. We're going to grid the picture. We're going to grid your paper. When we grid your paper, we're going to do the paper very lightly, and then we're just going to transfer it and use the grid to make sure that everything is in proportionate. After that's done, we are going to erase all of the grid lines. We're going to transfer to a final piece of paper so it looks nice and neat. Now, I want you to look at all of these details. There are reflections in the Christmas bulbs. There are patterns on the packages. There are reflections in the beads. There's details and ridges. So the more details and such that you can put in this, the better off you're going to be. It's going to be easier for you when you start colored pencil. So you're going to get 100 points for the contour drawing. That's just going to be in stencil. It's going to be the outline. You're going to have to use stencils, compasses, and rulers to make sure that everything is straight, as you can see on the left side here. Then I'm going to be teaching you colored pencil, and you will do this in colored pencil, and you have everything in your packet that you need. This is what we're going to be practicing together. And here's some examples that you're going to see when they're completely done. And they're very, very pretty. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's start the grid method for those of you that might have forgotten how to do this. So as you can see, I have printed this out. There's a white border around there. We're just going to disregard the white border. We are only going to grid the photograph. I am using a colored pencil because a colored pencil stands out very well. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to take a long straight edge. You have a straight edge in your packet. It might not be long enough. You might want to find you a book. You might have a ruler at home, whatever it takes. And I'm going to go an X from corner to corner. By doing this X, this is going to allow me to find the middle. Now, we here are using T-squares. I didn't send T-squares home with you, but I'm sure that you can probably eyeball it. So I'm using the T-square. I'm putting right down the center of that X, and I am making a vertical line. And then I'm going to do the same thing horizontally, right down the center. Then I'm going to attach the plus sign, and I'm going to go from the top middle line to the side middle line, and this is my diamond that I'm creating. Here to here, and I go bottom to the right side, and then the right side back to the top, and I've created the diamond. The last is the hashtag. The hashtag is going to go through the X's. So again, I'm using my T-square or trying to get a very straight line, and I'm going to go through the middle of my X's. Just taking that down. Come over here and do one on the right side. And then again, I'm going to do a horizontal hashtag line through the X's. And another one through the X's. Okay, and there I have my grid. Now, once I have my grid, you are going to want to do that another time. So you are going to take your paper. This time you are going to be using a pencil. Okay, you're going to do the pencil. I'm going to do this very, very quickly. Do the exact same thing. When you're doing the one that's on the final paper, which is 9 by 12, you are doing this as light as you can. Now I'm doing it a little bit heavier so you can see it, but you want it to be light because we don't want the grid to get in your way, and we're going to have to erase this too. So if we have to erase it, we don't want it too dark. So I'm getting this done real quick. Once I have this particular grid done on my white drawing paper, I am going to start placing in my objects. And the reason for the grid allows us to make sure that every object is the correct size. So I'm just going to put it in proportion with my paper. Now, this paper here, this could have been small, okay? This could have been really little. As you can see, it's not quite the size of this paper, so we're enlarging it a little bit. Now, my suggestion, I like to start freehand and then go back with my, there we go, let's see this. Then I go back and I start adding in straight lines with my ruler. I'm going to start with my largest shape. So I'm going to start with this corner. This corner is a perspective. It's a 2-point perspective. You don't have to use 2-point perspective. We're just going to freehand it. So I'm going to start, that line starts here, as you can see right there. And it goes all the way down, almost to the bottom of my paper. Then I'm looking at this angle. This angle goes up. And look where it's at. I wanted to make it exactly the same. You know, look how much space is from the bottom here to this grid. So I'm trying to make it exactly how I see it in my picture. This goes all the way over to this line. This line here goes up and it goes off the page. This one here goes up here. Now, as you can see, when you're gridding, it's kind of hard because you have all these crazy lines. So if you feel comfortable with erasing as you're going, that's great. Next thing, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw this shape. And this is going to be my little wooden box. Goes back that direction. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw that little L on there, that I. I have these folded paper corners on this present that I'm going to want to draw in there. I have a box that sits on top, a little wooden box. Do that one in here. And again, as you can see, I'm doing everything freehand for starters, but then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So I've got this on here. I've got a really small one back there. This back line I can see. This one comes here. I've got this huge Christmas ball. It comes up here. Mine extends off the paper slightly. Okay, there we go. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen up these lines. It looks right, okay? I've checked it. Everything looks pretty good. It's in proportion. Now, I'm going to go back with stencils. I'm going to go back with my ruler, and I'm going to make these lines nice and straight because my freehand was not straight. And we talked about when you're doing perspective, we want to make sure that everything is precise. Everything is perfect, or it's not going to look correct. So that's what I'm going to go back and do. I'm straightening all these lines. But before we straighten them, if you don't know if they're correct or not, have someone look at them. Send me a picture. I would love to just check it out and give you give you some pointers if you need those pointers. Now, I'm also going to use a compass, or you can use the templates if you have, or if you have anything, like maybe you have a bottle cap that's the size of the sphere that you're doing, whatever it is that you want to use. So I have two different compasses. So I'm going to start off finding the center of this compass, the center of this particular, not compass, sorry, center of my sphere. And this is going to be nice. There we go. Now, as you're working, you might want to come in and erase some of these lines because they're getting confusing. So I'm going to start with erasing some of these grid lines that are in my Christmas bulb. And I'm just going to do a little detail here, just kind of show you a little bit. So if I'm looking at my Christmas bulb right here, I want to draw as much detail as I can. First of all, I have this hanger that comes off. So I want to draw that in there. And it's kind of like little round cylinders. So I'm drawing that for starters. Then what I'm going to do is I bring this up. I can see this guy, this little circle in there, and I can see the interior edge. I definitely want to put that in there. I can also see this edge right here. So I'm going to put that in there. Okay. So there is the side, the little thing that hangs. Now I want to draw some of these reflections that I see in here. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to draw what I see. I see these light reflections that were like on the ceiling of the classroom when I took the photograph. So I'm going to draw those in there. And it's up to you how detailed you're going to get. They really look cool if you have some nice details. And it's a lot easier to do with colored pencil. So now look at that. Isn't that much neater? Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and continue the rest of the details. And it's what it's going to look like when it's a finished product. Okay. I am then going to erase every grid, every single grid. And I'm going to trace this onto a final piece of paper. If you're in class, you're going to use a light box. If you're not in class, you are going to use a window. You can use a flashlight or a lamp underneath a glass table. There are several different ways to do that, and I have those located on Schoology. So this is the first step for the Still Life project. I hope that you are in class to do this, but if you're not, here's the video for you. And if you have questions, please email me. Thank you.